Last little bit about metabolism is to cover what is called the absorptive state and the postabsorptive state. Really what this is trying to figure out how to maintain homeostatic levels of nutrients when you have just eaten. That would be the absorptive state, as in I'm absorbing the nutrients that I just ate. And the post-absorptive state. The post-absorptive state would be anything from between meals to hours and hours after meals. So we're going to fill in. I've given you diagrams in your notes to fill in both of these. I'm going to fill them in a little bit bigger over here so that you can see the trends in the absorptive and post-absorptive state. And we're going to do absorptive state first, which is right here, which is also sometimes called the fed state. So the fed state, I have it represented in green right here. You've eaten, everything's cool. So what's going to happen during the fed state? So let's blow this up just a little bit for me. And then I will scribble on it, and you guys can do the same in your notes. Okay, so what we are going to call this is we are going to call it, let's go ahead and be consistent and make this one all green. We are going to call this the fed state. Okay, so I want to figure out what's going on during the fed state. First of all, if I just ate, I'm going to say, let's just say, for our purposes right now, G equals glucose, so I don't have to write the word glucose every time. And this isn't only regulating glucose, but I'm going to focus on glucose because we learned before how glucose is really an important nutrient because it's the brain's best nutrient friend. So of course, if I ate, let's say that I've got glucose that is in the small intestine, okay? So what is going to happen by mechanisms we talked about before is that glucose is going to be absorbed from the small intestine into the bloodstream. And this represents the bloodstream right here. So that's cool. So where is glucose going to go? Glucose is going to go multiple places. It's going to go through the bloodstream and going to get sent a whole bunch of different places. But among the places it's going to be sent is to the pancreas. And the important thing about the glucose being sent to the pancreas is that that high level of glucose is what's going to make the pancreas release insulin. And insulin's going to go back into the bloodstream, and it's going to go multiple other places, including into the liver. And so what happens in the liver I'll cover in just a second. But let's focus on a few other places that glucose is going to go during the fed or absorptive state. Okay. The other places that glucose is going to go is, of course, it's going to go to the brain. And the brain is going to use glucose ultimately to make ATP via that process, called cellular respiration. Okay, and glucose is also going to go to skeletal muscle, and skeletal muscle is going to use it for skeletal muscle work, and then if skeletal muscle has extra, it is also going to store it as glycogen. Okay, and then glucose is also going to go to the liver. Okay. And what the liver will do is, in the presence of insulin, it is going to store glucose as glycogen. So insulin, this guy right here, is sort of the trigger for glycogen storage. And then you can also take glucose and make it into fatty acids if you've got too much. And we all know that too much sugar of any sort can be stored in adipose tissue, and the way that it is stored is as triglycerides. So basically what we have in the absorptive state is, I'm going to change colors, not because it's changing topics, but just to sort of give a little more attention to these big picture understandings. In the absorptive state, basically what we are going to have is high glucose, high levels of blood glucose, which will give us high levels of insulin. Okay. And what the absorptive state really favors is these anabolic processes, which you can write wherever you want, but I'm going to scribble them right here. So anabolism, remember, is taking smaller things and storing them as bigger things. And so the primary anabolic processes that are going to go on during the fed state, not the only ones, but the primary ones are glycogenesis, which is right here, okay, and lipogenesis, which is right here. Okay, so this is sort of a big picture understanding of the fed state. Now, your notes also say right over here, hold on just a second. Your notes also say right over here something about protein synthesis. So protein synthesis, of course, is also an anabolic process, and it can occur in the fed state, but I want you to understand that protein synthesis is not controlled by insulin. It's controlled by the protein needs of the body. Okay, so let's see. Let's erase all of that. Erase all the strokes. Okay, so now let's take a minute and go down and compare that to the next state. The next state that we're going to be talking about, and I'll do it in a separate short video, is going to be called the postabsorptive state. And the postabsorptive state, just to give you a preview of things to come, is what you will do, also called the fasted state, is what you will do 8 to 12 hours after a meal, when you no longer have circulating blood glucose in large amounts, what's going to happen, what hormones are going to be involved in all that stuff. Okay, so we'll do that one in the next short video.